Modding Skyrim with Vortex, Part 22, Community Shaders, Skylighting, Grass Lighting, and Collision, and Wetness Effects.
Hello, it's Cupshotting again, and welcome back to another episode of Modding Skyrim with Vortex. Today we're going to try something adventurous. We're going to attempt to get the community shaders working. The community shaders are a suite of mods that are designed to work together to improve the overall visual quality of Skyrim. To start with, we will need to install the core plugin that will control all of the other shader mods. When we do this, we will also have to install a few background utility mods. After that, we will have 4 shader mods that I think will improve the appearance of the game. There are another 10 shaders that can also be added, but they can have a pretty subtle effect on your screen. And the more shaders you add, the harder your graphics card has to work, until everything just grinds to a halt. And we don't want that, so we have to compromise. Currently, my GPU, that is to say my graphics card, is running at about 45%. After I add the 4 shaders, it will climb to about 95%. I'll get a little stutter and the fans on my graphics card will start to run faster. I have a fix for that, and I wish I had found it before I made this video. Still, this is a good example of what shaders can do to your FPS. I will show you the fix in my next video. For now, let's just get the shaders. When we start using community shaders, I recommend having a new profile. Our light and weather profile is working fine, so let's not risk altering anything there. Clone the light and weather profile. I'll call mine 6 Community Shaders, give it its own saved games and settings, and describe it as Shader Collection. I save it and enable it so that when I download the shaders, they all go into this profile. I can look in mods and see that they are all set to go, and also in plugins and see that they are all enabled as well. I'll return to mods. Go to Nexus, log in, and select Skyrim as your game, as we always do. Search for community shaders. There are many shaders here. I want the core plugin. And here it is by Doodlum. Doodlum seems to run the shader community, as their name is on all of the shaders. Click on it and go to its main page. It says that it is the core plugin for advanced graphic modifications. Scroll down to read about it. Here we can see an overview. And here we can see a list of features. Significantly improved performance of rendered terrain. You can read the rest of this later if you like. There are plugins in the core, and also there is a list of mods that can be added separately. I will install some of them. One of the problems of community shaders is that they have a high GPU, that is graphics card, usage. The more you add, the worse it gets. You don't need to install all of them. I will do 4 that I think make the most noticeable changes in the game's appearance. After that, we will look at our GPU usage and see how we are doing. Further down, it talks about the cache, which is where the compiled files are stored. I'll talk more about compiling when we do that. We also get a warning regarding requirements. We really do need Skyrim version 1.6.1170. I suppose I should have emphasized that earlier. We need a good video card and the other stuff that you see here. We need the address library, which we have. We don't need the VR files. We do need the crash logger and the assorted mesh fixes, which we will be getting. Usage tells us that there is an in-game menu we can call upon to adjust certain parameters by pressing the End key. Make a note of that. You only get this notice when you start shaders for the first time. You don't want to forget that you have this option. It also tells me that we cannot have any other type of shader mods. Right now, we don't have any, and now we know not to get them. We will only use community shaders. Scroll back to the top. Click on Files, and we can see that there is only one main file. Click on the Mod Manager download, and we can see our list of prerequisites. We don't need the VR files, and we should already have the address library and the engine fixes, as well as the Microsoft stuff. We only need the assorted mesh fixes and the crash logger. Click on the assorted mesh fixes and go to its download page. We read that it fixes various issues with the vanilla Skyrim and that it has no requirements. There is a list of what it fixes. When it installs, we will get a list of conflicts. Someone questioned how to choose the load order, and the author answered, just pick whatever mod's mesh you want to win. The static mesh mod improvement mod changes are already included, so put this after that. Lower down you can see a complete list of what is changed. Scroll back up and click on Files. There is only one. Don't bother with the optional file. It says don't touch it if you don't know what you're doing. Just get the main one the way we always do. After it is downloaded, we get a lot of conflicts. Just do what Vortex recommends. I'm doing what the author recommended and putting everything after. Normally I don't see anything remarkable in these fixes. However, recall that when we loaded the Vedigal trees, the Gildergreen tree in Whiterun changed. This fix will change it back to the default image. Here you can see that there are 5 files in conflict. The temple tree files are the Gildergreen images. I learned that via an internet search. What this means is that both the Vedigal mod and the Fix mod, as well as the original Skyrim, use a file with this name. We can only use one, and that will be the one that is loaded last. In this case, we are installing the assorted mesh file last. There is a way to set the load order so that the Vedigal file will be loaded last. I will show you how to do that later when we are finished installing the community shader mods and see our results. Scroll all the way down and make sure we didn't miss anything. Now we save our work and can see that our conflicts are gone. We can see the assorted mesh fixes here at 16 in the deploy order. Now we can go back to the community shader requirements, and we see that we also need something called a crash logger. Click on that and go to its home page. This is another modern utility that works in the background. It is of no interest to us beyond the fact that the community shaders need it. It has requirements. Once again, the familiar address library and a VR file that we don't need. It also says that it needs an earlier version of CrashLogger to be installed first. Click on that and go to its home page. This earlier version says that it is obsolete and that you should use the file that sent you here. That's fine. That's modding for you. Just install it and forget about it. I guess the new version needs to know that it has an older version to overwrite. After the old version is installed, go back and install the new version over it. Now we get a message telling us that there is an unresolved conflict. Vortex wants to know which crash logger to use. We will install the old version before the new. We still have a warning message. It's telling us that the old crash logger files are completely overwritten by the new crash logger and that it is redundant and we should not use it. Redundant files are harmless, but we will disable the old one anyway. There's no point in deploying it if there's nothing in it, and here we have it disabled. Crash logs sound scary. I hope you haven't been having any crashes of Skyrim since we started installing mods. Here is where a crash log is stored on our PC. I must warn you that my computer has crashed when using community shaders. It might have been due to the video card being overwhelmed, at least on my old PC. My new PC should be okay, but it did crash on me once, although NVIDIA has been having problems with its drivers. So maybe that was what caused it. At any rate, the crash log is useless to us. It is for developers. The log tells us nothing and doesn't upload to anywhere. With the mesh and crash loggers out of the way, we can go back to the Community Shader Core Plugins download page. We now have all the prerequisites and can click download and install it. As usual, we watch it download, install, and deploy. You can see it down here at the bottom in deploy order 40. Make a note of that. We will see a change later. Go back to the Core Plugins home page and look in the Description tab. Scroll down like we did before and let's look at the list of mods available. We could search for these individually like any other mod, but they are all conveniently shown here. The first one that I want is called Skylighting. Click on it and go to its main page. It says that it simulates large-scale world space ambient occlusion. What does that mean? Occlusion in 3D rendering considers how much of an area is exposed to ambient light. For comparison, Here is the stairwell of the western tower. Notice that the dark, where the window light doesn't shine, is darker. During the game, this makes for a nice effect. The Skylighting homepage has many examples and tells you all about it. I find it one of the best shaders for gaming immersion. Click on Files. There is only one. When we do the Mod Manager download, it reminds us that we need the Community Shader Core plugin, which we have. Click Download and wait for it to install. When it's done, we can see it here at the bottom. Again, make a note of its deploy order number. Now go back to our core plugin list of additional features, and this time select Grass Lighting and go to its home page. Grass Lighting brightens up the grass a bit. Again, its only requirement is the Community Shader. There is only one file to download. It installs and deploys quickly, and we can see it at the bottom of the deploy order. We could go back to the additional features list for more shader mods, or we could just search as we usually do, if we knew what to search for. The additional feature list does have the total list with their links. But here is how it is done if we knew what we wanted. Search for grass collision. Which one do you think we need? The community shader or the ENB? This one, of course. We can't have two different kinds of shaders. Click on it to go to its home page. It says that it adds actor collision to grass. That means that as your player character walks through grass, the grass will actually respond. That's kind of fun if you play third-person view. This requires the grass lighting mod that we just installed, in addition to the core plugin. Click on the Mod Manager download and install the file. That's simple enough. Let's go back one more time and search for wetness effects. Two mods come up. We want the one on the left. However, the one on the right looks interesting. It combines several wetness mods together. I read about it and it requires a couple extra wetness mods. I would like to try it, but we will have to look at it another day. Let's get the one we came for. Click on it and go to its home page. This mod will put puddles of water on the ground when it rains, as well as showing it landing on your character and walls and things like that. It's a nice immersion effect. There's only one file and its only requirement is the core plugin. Download and install it. We can see it here down at the bottom with all the other shaders. Those are all the shaders that I'm going to use for now. We could go back to the Shader Core plugin homepage and look at the additional features list. There are 14 of them, and I have only done 4. So there are 10 more that we could install, but I don't feel that they have much of an effect on the game. So unless you have a lot of computing power and are really picky about your game's appearance, I wouldn't bother with them, at least for now. You can always come back for them. They all install the same way. Now let's look at Vortex. I like to be extra careful, and here is something that I do after installing shaders. I'll deploy the mods. As you can see, I have my mods sorted by deployment order number, and the shaders are all here at the bottom. Watch what happens when I quit Vortex and then restart Vortex. I'll look in my profiles and see that I still have the shader profile active. And if I click on mods and scroll down, I do not see the shaders all lined up at the bottom. Scroll up and you will see the community shader at number 10 in the deployment order. It is the first shader in the deployment order, and it has to be that. The other mods are scattered in the order. This is done by Loot, the load order optimization tool. The load order changes all the time when you restart Vortex after adding some mods. Loot doesn't just put them at the bottom. Loot has its own logic for this, and we should just trust it. I just like to do a fresh sort after installing some mods before I start a game. I'll click deploy one last time, and then let's start Skyrim. Since we have a new profile, we are forced to start a new game. Notice that at the top left corner, we can see the shaders compiling. The shaders compile every time you make a change to the shader list, either by adding shaders or removing some. It's creating a shader log. If you have made no changes, it just loads the old log and you won't see this. I will show you that in a moment. In the center of the screen, there is a notice that the shaders come with an interface that gives you the opportunity to make adjustments to the shader's effects. This interface is accessed by the hotkey End. This is the only time you will get this notice, so write it down so you don't forget. It takes a while for the shaders to compile, and we absolutely must wait for them to finish. If it fails to compile, the game will crash. This is the problem that I had with my old computer. They compiled just fine for me with my new PC. When it is finished compiling, we can press Escape to close the notice. Now we can start a new game. We go through the alternate Start a New Life character creation, and as usual, I will come out in the breeze home in Whiterun. I'm just going to go straight outside, decline the survival mode, return inside, and quit to the desktop. Then I will start Skyrim and load my saved game. I hope you noticed that when I restarted Skyrim that we didn't see any shaders compiling, and that's good. I do this save, quit, and restart routine whenever I compile shaders. I want to be certain that they are done compiling and the files are all saved. I suppose some might call this overcautious, but I like to be certain that I get no glitches either from the deployment of the mods or the compiled shaders. I feel confident now that the game will run. Well, I see I've run out of time. In my next post, we'll take a walk around Skyrim and see what the shaders have done to improve my Skyrim game immersion. We'll also look at the SSE display tweaks any file and lower our frames per second from 120 to 60 in order to reduce our GPU usage. And I hope we can look at how to use Vortex to prioritize a file from one mod over the same file in another mod so that it appears in the game. I'll see you then.